talking about enough, and I think
Yeah,
representation is so important in any industry, not just tech, but just anything that
right.
you're passionate about. You want to be able to see yourself there. So for
I
me,
would say, I would say, and I apologize for one quick interjection here.
yeah,
I would say that it's more important than tech and than many other industries because tech is the world now.
which is yes, I that's true.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. Um, and so like yeah, so like I mean, for me growing up in the Midwest, like just to be quite honest, like I've never saw my face. When
Mm.
it comes to tech or STEM, is always one type of person there.
Yeah.
So it's like for me, like I'm grateful to be in the position and role that I'm in because now like I'm able to be the role model that I didn't have or the visionary that I didn't have growing up.
Hey, welcome back to the Everybody Has a Podcast. Today, I am joined by Safia Porter, Black Orlando Tech. She is here locally with me in Orlando, Florida. Safia, first of all, welcome to the show. I appreciate you joining me.
Thank you for having me.
Well, let's talk a little bit about your background. 'Cause I think like me, you're from the Midwest.
Yes.
But what brought you out to Florida initially? How long ago was that?
Yeah, so I am originally from Indianapolis, Indiana. I grew up there all of my life, and I
Hmm.
moved here to the Orlando, Florida area about now. It's been 10 years actually since I moved here. And honestly, being from the Midwest, I kind of grew up with the thought, even just growing up, like there's just not a lot in the Midwest for us there,
Right.
especially when it comes to the career. So I had the opportunity where I was actually attending Full Sail University online. And so I just thought, like, well, what the hell not? Why don't I just go on campus and move down to Florida? Sounds like a good idea at the time. So that's honestly what I went ahead and did is like, okay, I'm just going to move. Um, I came down here probably with just like $300 in my pocket. And I was like, I'm just honestly, I'm like, I'm being dead serious. Like, I'm just gonna um make this work as best as possible.
And what brought you down like for Full Sail? I mean, what were you studying there?
Yeah, so I was studying for my bachelor's in media communications. And honestly, it's just like the style of learning at Full Sail was honestly so much better than traditional college, in my opinion.
Hmm.
So it just made sense for me.
I think Full Sail is interesting for me because as I've been here for long, I've been here about 10 years in October. That's right.
Okay.
And Full Sail always like whenever I communicate with them, it's always like, oh wait, this person went to Full Sail as well. It's like all these like big name, you know. I'm a video gamer. I know you mentioned you are as well sometimes,
Yeah.
but like a lot of video game developers come from there, and obviously producers, and they have their every Academy Awards. They have this list of all these people with the Full Sail. What was it about Full Sail for you anyway that kind of like attracted you to that school in the first place?
Yeah, it goes back to just the style of learning. So I'm
Hmm.
really more of a hands-on project learner. I honestly despise textbooks and the traditional way of learning and teaching. I feel like I retain at least better when I'm doing stuff physically, and it's more of like you're working through the example together versus like you're reading
Right.
and writing and blah blah blah, and then you wait until you graduate to get the full real world experience. It's like, well, no, that's not the experience I wanted. I really wanted to get that in-person experience. And
Right.
what I also enjoyed about Full Sail is they have at the time, I don't know if they still do this, but in 2 3 years you can graduate earlier than a 4 year traditional college. So that was also more attractive to me because I was like, I'm ready to be done with
Right.
school. Um, but that's really what brought it to me was just those 2 items, and then with it being mainly known as an entertainment school itself, I do still have the dream and aspirations one day to break into the entertainment industry.
Okay.
I felt like that why not learn it from the people who seem to know their stuff, and they did.
Oh, that's actually funny because way back when I was in college, I went to like a bunch of these conferences, and it was all these journalism conferences, right? Because I was a journalist for my career, and so I went to this conference. It was a state conference, state journalism conference. Nothing, just little local thing. But I noticed that every single person who was teaching each of the seminars was coming from one school, and that was Eastern Illinois. And so I'm like, you know what, screw it. Exactly like you just said. I said, you know what, screw it. I might as well go to the school and learn from them directly rather than just come having to see them once a year. So you came down to Full Sail. When I came down to Orlando, this is about 10 years. Um, I wouldn't say there was a little shock at all, but it's a little different from the Midwest. There's a lot fat because now you from Indianapolis proper or like from the suburbs of Indy.
I mean, I was in the city of Indianapolis.
Okay, so this might not have been that big of a change for you as far as the speed of the city. But
Oh,
what
no,
was your impression when you got here? Yeah,
I gotta
good.
disagree with you. So, Indianapolis,
Okay,
Indiana, like, Midwest, like, for me, it's a smaller city. You still get the farm life or the farm
right,
feel being there. Everyone's close knit. When I moved here to Orlando, I mean, I've been to New York, and I was like, "Okay, New York is crazy fast paced," but moving here, just, like, the scale, like, it took me probably 7 years to even know still where I'm going in this city, how big it is. Um, but I think even, like, if you're inside of the city of Orlando itself, I just felt like it was still, for me, a shock and different because it's not Indianapolis is for me, I still call it home, it's still gonna be my home because
right,
their communities are so close together and everyone, just loves each other, everyone knows each other. Where here, like, all the cities of, like, Lake Nona, Lake Mary, Sanford, I'm in Apopka, Mount Dora, they're just
right.
kinda, like, all on their own little islands and own little cluster, so it's not, to
Yeah,
me, the tight-knit communities that work together. So I have to say, like, it's different. I cannot compare it. But when I moved out to
yeah,
the Apopka area, Mount Dora area, then I started feeling like, "Okay, this feels like more home for me because I was away from the city life and
right.
back in the farmlands. I can see
That's
the
the
stars at night."
thing. No, yeah, exactly. That's the thing about, I mean, Central Florida. I think in general, it's like there are so many different personalities. Like
Mhm.
every community, I feel, has its own personality.
Yeah.
Like I came from Des Moines, Iowa, so that was like to me. That's kind of what I was saying. Where like I got here was a little different,
Yeah.
where little bit more fast paced. But
Yeah.
I do enjoy. I enjoy being a Midwesterner living
Mhm.
in Florida
Yeah.
because you kind of have appreciation for a few of the things here. Now, there's something I don't like, and that's we won't get into those too much. But Orlando, I think, is a nice. Like I said, it's more like a nice little city.
Yeah.
It's not going to be your Chicago, right?
Right.
That's kind of where I was getting at. And you were talking about how you had visited New York City before.
Yeah.
Um, but how did you get involved in the tech scene and the tech community? Now, I do want to talk a little bit about your film aspiration. I didn't know that until just now. But
Yeah.
um, how did you get involved in the tech community here?
Yeah. So when I first moved here, I started off just honestly going to a lot of like the pitch competition where Starter Studio used
Hmm.
to live downtown and just kind of working my way around and just more so
Just
being
networking,
flying a wall, honestly.
right?
But I just knew like it just in general, like for me when I went to school for media communications, I knew I wanted to come out and really be into more so digital marketing. But I've always still had more so that I guess the early adapter spirit in me. I always wanted to
Mm-hmm.
know what was going on. So that's honestly how I got into the tech scene is like, okay, I just want to know what all is happening here tech related.
Right. Something I have digital marketing to me is there's yin and yang for me. There's
Mhm.
the negative side of it where everyone thinks they can do it,
Yeah.
right? And so they start. I make this joke, and I already made it in one of my episodes. I just have to stop saying this, otherwise people start getting mad at me. But where a lot of times you have young people coming out right out of college and
Mhm.
they start their own agency by themselves,
Yep.
thinking they can do it. But there's much more to it. I know many who it the right way. I don't want just for the record, just for your information, I don't want this podcast to be a marketing thing at all.
Yeah.
But can you talk a little bit about that whole yin and yang? Like, how does someone do digital marketing well, right? Where it doesn't feel like it's some sort of siphoning of the client's money, right? I mean, that's kind of where I'm getting at.
Mhm. Yeah. I think it starts off with you. I mean, for me, when I first started out, is me honestly just being honest with the clientele I was working with. I started off working in a digital marketing agency, being able to touch all of the different touch points with digital marketing. But also being also knowing to be, transparent as well
Hmm.
clients and letting them know like, "Hey, digital marketing is not fast paced." I mean, nowadays, sadly, it's still not helping because you have the virality of like TikTok and Instagram, trends and all those sort of things. Like you get one good moment and everyone's like, "Oh, I want that," you know,
Right.
facade. And I'm just like, well, that doesn't happen for everybody.
Right.
It doesn't happen for everybody. It's just understanding again how it works. Like digital marketing to me is just like sales. Like you have to understand the one-on-one about sales, whereas like someone, if they're a warm or hot buyer, like yeah, you can strike it while it's hot. But if they're on the
Mm,
fence or cold, you have to. It's like dating. Like you have to work up to it. So like when
right.
we're implementing digital marketing, that can be like ads, that can be just the strategy, all those things. Like for me, it might take you from month 1 to 3 to see, like, progress or if
Mm,
anything's working, because it's all about testing, but it's also, important to keep in mind of, like, data and what data is telling
right.
you if something's working. Um,
I'm sorry, how does doing this for nonprofits, how does that figure into kind of your experience as a marketer?
I say, in my opinion, it's a bit more tough because and this definitely for me was like a big curveball when I switched from doing digital marketing for restaurants and such, but moving to
Mm,
nonprofit. Now it's more of like trying to convince people that this nonprofit is legitimate, that it's serious, that whatever you're donating is not being misused or misfunded or
right.
funding a board or the staff, but is actually going towards the beneficiaries of the programs and that. So it takes unfortunately, it takes a lot of, like, myth busting those misconceptions. It's a lot
Right.
more work when it comes on the nonprofit side.
Well, I think it's one of those things where you get one bad actor out there, and all of a sudden everyone assumes it's everyone. And I think we're in a society of
Canadian
a lot, be a
don't
lot. Yeah, no, 100%. That's what I'm saying. Like, I think we're in a society now where, on the one hand, we're all more being safer with who we donate to, but
Mhm.
on the other hand, the organizations that are legitimate, they need it more than ever
Yeah.
because they are doing so much work. I mean, can you talk about just that whole the impact of public, the way the public perceives your industry, right? Versus how do you kind of help a nonprofit reshift the discussion to target what they do
Yeah.
rather than what these other people in their industry are doing.
It goes back what I learned in marketing, is being transparent.
Hmm.
And with nonprofits, what I would tell people if they're on the fence of like, okay, is this a legitimate organization? How do I know where their money is going to? There are so many public databases out now that we have to like
Uh,
submit our information as a nonprofit in regards to like our finances, our books, who's on our board, how is money allocated, all those programs. Like
right,
there's so many parameters or these checks and balances that we have to submit to showcase
right.
where money and where funding is going to. So there's like Candid, there is Charity Watch here in Central Florida. We have the Central Florida Foundation. They have their own nonprofit system.
I'll bet every major region in America has its own watchdog as well.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah,
There is national, even international. Like, if you're, like, concerned, like, "Okay, what does St. Jude do with money? What does
yeah,
McDonald
yeah.
House do with money?" Like, you can go onto these platforms and look at everything they're doing. And a lot of nonprofits are doing as well. They're putting all that stuff on their website now. So all you have to do is
Right,
just do a Google search, and the information
right.
is there for you.
Well, let's talk about just, is there a reason you targeted nonprofits, right? I mean, what is it about the work that kind of relates to you and also kind of speaks to you? And what do you identify with?
Yeah, so just growing up, just my family and family culture, like, my parents has always instilled in me, like, it's always important to give back to others
Mm,
um, who don't have it, right? That's just something that's just always been in me, is like, I always want to be able to help the next person get to where they need to be, even if it's just a little token of something. Um,
right.
like, short story, like, I had a brother who had passed away,
Mm,
many years ago, but what we do in his honor, is we give back twice a year to feeding the homeless. And
mm,
that's just a way to showcase it even to my kids, like, "Hey, like, it's so important to not always just think about yourself, think about others and where they're at and how you can help them." But when it comes to my professional life, I just, again, want that to spill over and really just showcase to people like, "Hey, like, I'm really here to help you get to the next best place in your life, regardless. Like, I work for Black Orlando Tech, where I'm helping the team and the community break into tech in some sort of way, but also
mhm,
helping them economically with their pockets and at home. And then on the other side, I work for another nonprofit called Easy Water for Everyone. This is international, where we're helping in sub-Saharan Africa provide pure, clean water to villages who are not able to get that help.
mm.
But for me, like, both of those things are just so gratifying because, like, you need income to live, right? And then
Right,
basic
right.
needs of, like, water is also needed to live. So, um, I just honestly I get a joy from it, to be quite honest with you.
I think that's one of the things that I like. One of the reasons I enjoy doing the podcasts like this because
Mhm,
I mean we would never have talked about that in our like from my Orlando Tech news toward to Black Orlando Tech. I do enjoy these conversations because you talk about like different layers of people, and I love that.
mhm,
But you mentioned Black Orlando Tech. Let's go into that a little bit. One of the things that I've always felt since I started writing about tech in about 2011. I was writing about tech in the Midwest, and one of the things that was always interesting to me was the idea of representation, right? As a Mexican Hispanic, right?
mhm.
You kind of I never really led with it, right? Never lead with the fact, but the fact of the matter is when I see a Hispanic doing some really cool things in technology. Now at my age, 47, it's like okay, it's really cool. But for me, I think more about my young nieces.
Mhm.
Just like when they see women doing things in tech, and my nephew, right? I see them do. I think about how they're going to react. It comes down to having people who look like you doing these cool things. Can you talk about that concept or not? I know it's cliche. It's definitely cliche, but I think it's very important, though. Even though it is talked about a lot, I don't think you can ever talk about it enough.
We don't talk about enough, and I think
No,
representation is so important in any industry, not just tech, but just anything that
right.
you're passionate about. You want to be able to see yourself, there. So for
I
me
would say, I would say, and I apologize for one quick interjection here.
yeah,
I would say that it's more important than tech and than many other industries because tech is the world now.
which is yes, I that's true. I
Yeah.
agree, yeah. Um, and so, like yeah, so, like, I mean, for me growing up in the Midwest, like, just to be quite honest, like, I've never saw my face,
Mm,
when it comes to tech or STEM. There's always one type of person there.
yeah.
So it's like, for me, like, I'm grateful to be in the position or role that I'm in because now, like, I'm able to be the role model that I didn't have or the visionary that I didn't have growing up. And then
Yeah.
I have 2 backgrounds. I am Asian American, and I'm also African American as well.
Mm,
So I'm able to showcase 2 sides of things where it's like, okay, like, if I'm able to do it and be successful at it in some sort of way, then the next person can, and it just also helps the door to stay open, and
right.
less work, like, we all have to work hard to get where we need to be, but if you're seeing someone that looks like you in that seat, then you're like, "Okay, yeah, I could definitely do that, and I could definitely get to where they're at." Because I have a daughter and I have a son as well, but especially for my daughter, I think it's just
Yeah.
very important for her to see me, in my work capacity, so she also know as she's growing up and trying to figure out where she can go, that she
Right.
belongs in that space.
I think the next generation, and I say this with all due respect to them, but they're going to be a lot more prepared for jumping into tech because I think the accessibility
Mhm.
over the past several years has obviously that's grown, but not only that, there's a lot more like people of color
Mhm.
doing technology and able to have social media. Right?
Yeah.
I see these people who are just dominating on social media, and again, it puts a face to the technology. And I see, and I'm sorry I forgot her name, but she's an astronaut. But she's going up up in the space a couple times already. She's phenomenal. I love watching her. I love kind of But again, like I can't imagine being a young girl,
Mm,
seeing her, of that same descent, same background, and
mhm.
being and saying like, there's no longer this I can't do it, I can't do it, because you're on IG early and you
Yeah.
see this. You don't grow up in a world anymore where that's not possible because you see this happening. So I love that about it. Can you talk about that a little bit? Yeah,
Yeah, like, you see that happening on social media, but I think that is still important, though, in the household, like, parents are also fostering it, are,
yeah.
showcasing stuff in person. Along with our schools, I feel like the schools could do a lot more when it comes to showcasing the great world of technology and STEM,
Mhm.
especially having programs, for young girls, to participate, and they also know, like, "Yeah, I can definitely do this." So, now social media is being restricted for children, at
Right,
a
right.
younger age after a certain point. So, it's like, okay, now you have this barrier. So, it's more making sure even, again, elementary schools and that sort of thing are able to fill in those gaps, and parents are able to fill in the gap and making sure that they're showcasing that still.
Oh no, 1,000%. And I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. Another side of it is the inequity in funding of school districts, right?
Mhm.
And I think and we're not going to solve that here, of course, but
Yeah.
I do think it's important to talk about just the fact that some districts just don't have. I mean, and this has happened forever, right? Budgets are at different levels for all time, but now today, when STEM is such a it opens doors so much, so opens so many doors.
Mhm.
Man, that equal access to STEM education is more important than it's ever been, I believe.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
We're very way focused on testing and not the real life stuff. So
That's a problem that if we were to fix it on this show, my show would blow up right away. But talk to me. You look at Black Lives. What kind of impact do you think it's made on Orlando's tech community? Because I've known the group again since I got here, but the last couple of years, you guys have been able to land some funding from the city and actually become a. I believe you guys went through like a shift a couple of years ago, right? In your status or your structure.
yeah, so we're, like, currently restructuring to just mainly focus on tech-enabled everything. So that's
Yeah.
from our tech startup, accelerator, our programs. We wanna make sure that we're staying true and sticking to our mission statement, from what the founders have developed. So in the past, we have done great work, especially work that has been, in our cohorts for our upskilling programs, and then, we did have a past program for our,
Hmm.
small business, um, participants. So all of those programs, regardless, have had, really great, tremendous, outcomes. We get people all the time who are just very grateful that we exist, and, especially in the Black community, being able to have this space that's a safe space for them, and showcasing the representation and showcasing, like, all these great people are able to do great things, and I'm able to do the same. And years now, being able to see the fruits of our labor, and people
Right.
are able to get in are in different spaces than they were years ago when they found about bot. So, um, I would say, like, yeah, right now, I'm super excited for bot's future. We have a lot of great
Yeah.
planned, and we just wanna keep the momentum going.
Well, you mentioned something that I thought was interesting, and I think and it goes back to the statement of seeing people who are like you. I mean, listen, the
Yeah.
the reality of it is, when I would go to a tech event here in Orlando, when I first got here,
Mhm.
very much one color, and I don't mean that. It's just the way it was, right?
Right.
Um, but I don't. I just again, this is 2014. This is the tech community at that time was still kind of up and coming, trying to establish its footing. So there's no negativity toward that. We were just trying to figure out who we can get to any meeting, anytime.
Right.
Then the Black Orlando Tech started to integrate a little more with the community, started like coming to the events, and there's just it just it's nothing to say. It's nothing negative to say this, but if if you're someone who's black or Hispanic and working in tech, this is the kinds of groups that you will gravitate towards just naturally,
Mhm.
because again, you see who you are in these groups, and now once those groups start to mingle, so to speak, with the general tech community. Now you see the growth of it.
Mm.
Um, Again, I don't want to overstate it, but I think it's important to establish that there is a real need for Black Orlando tech and Hispanics in tech and those things. Even though it seems to be exclusive, it really isn't.
Yeah. It has felt very exclusive. That's what so when you asked
Yeah,
the question earlier when I first got into tech, like, it started here, and it wasn't that very many women and not that many women of color on either sides in there. Uh,
right,
so with us having bought, like, we're hoping that we can change that because we're all about wanting to work with the community, fostering
right,
relationships and working together for the greater cause to building Orlando to hopefully be truly the next, tech hub to come, but yeah, we just it had to start with us and just making showcasing
yeah,
and letting people know, like, "Hey, like, you're definitely welcome in this tech community here, and we have a home for you here, and we could definitely get you connected to the right people who have, your well-being in mind." Um, but it's like it's very tech bro too, because like, for us, we're moving in a direction where we wanna make sure, like, when we bring someone on who's truly interested in breaking into tech, that we're understanding who they are as a person and
right.
understand that they're human beings, and not just this workhorse of like, "Okay, you need to just work and get your tech startup working, and I don't care anything else about you." Like, we're not
Right, right,
about that. We're going to the route, like, well-being, because in the Black community, there's already so many, misconceptions about tech and misinformation about tech and breaking into it, and we're trying to help debuckle those and showcase, like, you could really make great money. You can really have your anxiety and whatever issues that you're thinking, like, not go
right.
away 100%, but we can help bring those down, and find you a better job and better resources for yourself.
Yeah, and that's the thing about like Orlando Tech for me has been in the last 10 years just kind of like up and coming, right? And I see a lot more interactivity between different groups.
Mhm.
Uh, 5 years ago, you'd have to go to there would be 10 meetups for
Yeah.
10 different industries, right?
Yep.
Now you see some things like OTC kind of putting them all together, being able to helping to kind of bring them all into one umbrella, and not like one of those things where like come here and like lose your own identity. It's more like let's all create our own identity as an Orlando overall ecosystem. I like what I've seen though. I think there's some momentum going on.
Yeah, no, I am excited what, the Orange OTC is trying to do, and bringing us in because I think that just showcase again that you are welcome in this space. We're all working together, and it's a collective effort.
You mentioned video games. You're a gamer,
Yes. Yes.
right? And that's exciting because so am I. I'm a big ass nerd when it comes to video games. You said you played games like The Sims. That's old school, man. My sister played that a long time ago. She loved
The Sims is still live and well. We are already getting ready. They're building Sims 5 as we speak. So
right.
that is a strong franchise. And yeah, I've been playing that game probably since I was 10 and I'm now 32. So it's just old.
Please tell me you've had the same character since then, because that would be phenomenal.
Probably almost well, not the same character, but I mean, maybe similar storylines. Like the storyline
Yeah.
never changes. Like, okay, she gets quick rich and she's everything that pretty quickly, right? With the big mansion and stuff. So,
So
um,
it's like real life, of course. It's exactly like real life.
I mean, we're already in a simulation. I feel sometimes. So, like, why not
That's
have
true.
a little fun?
That's true. What is it about those games, or what is it about the video games? Like, why do you like that kind of diversion?
So it's weird because me now being an adult with two kids and a husband, right? So it's like a really good escape of like I can just zone out, and I don't really have
Right.
to take care of no one else but this digital being on this game, so, like, I also play SimCity still, so it's just it's stimulating for me, it's fun, and it just takes me out of this because like, with my career, like, I'm always on the computer, I'm always on my phone, marketing,
Right.
all these things, business aspects, like, it's like, this is just the best way for me to get a break.
I used
I have to say, like my husband, he's also a huge gamer. You guys can follow him on
Okay.
YouTube, Vicious for Life. I'm gonna plug him in. Uh,
There you go. Hey.
but he plays a lot of games, and sometimes we play together. He'll find like really cool couple games and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I gotta tell you, you mentioned Sim City, and I almost it took me back to some bad memories. I swear to God, that game. Once I thought I had everything going, all of a sudden a freaking tornado comes in and just blows my whole or Godzilla. I'm like, what the hell is this bullshit?
Oh, so the mobile app now actually allows you to determine your own disasters. So here I am
Really?
putting things together, and it's like, okay, you want to have a tornado now? Yeah, press a button, and now there's a tornado.
No, but that's the thing, right? I think we're now in multiple generations that are like growing up in the gaming world, right? And I think
Hmm.
you look at a lot of when it comes to simulation and technology, we're in Orlando, which is a defense. There's a lot of defense companies here,
Yeah.
and they're hiring the former gamers, man. They're hiring the former gamers to develop and build because that's it's almost like it's like a nerd revolution going on.
Well, think about it. The world of AI and robotics. I don't know everything about the. I mean, I know a little bit what's going on with defense, but I was like, I know
Yeah,
they're working up some crazy stuff there just for to go to defense and war all that stuff. So it makes sense. Like you pull
no,
the people who have done this for a living, and you can have a great product and a great whatever.
I think that's the thing. I think Orlando is really positioned well
Mhm.
because there are a lot of clusters in very important industries for what's coming in the future, meaning modeling, simulation, defense, even gaming. You have electronic arts here,
Yep.
and then you go to virtual reality. Every there's so many conferences here
Mm.
that are very much steeped in that technology. So I think we are positioned pretty well. I mean, so let me ask you a question. So you said you came to Orlando, or probably with the Full Sail. You had
Mhm.
this idea about being in the entertainment industry, right?
Yes.
What exactly? What area are you talking about? Are you going to be like a backup dancer? Are you going to be a screenwriter? Are you going to be a producer, director?
No, I really had the ambitions and dreams to do marketing, for entertainment. So, like,
Okay, gotcha.
Marvel, any of the Disney franchises, like, I really wanted to one day be on their team in some sorta
Yeah.
fashion. I'm kinda like a nitpicker marketing person, and being from Full Sail, you kinda start nitpicking at film and stuff when something's not right. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's what I was
No,
born
when I
to
was,
do in entertainment.
hey, you know what? You still got time.
Yeah,
I'll root for you. Maybe this podcast will launch your career. If it does, you owe me something on the back end.
don't worry,
But
I'll make it for free.
there you go. But no, I think that's one thing that I think everyone fell in love with Marvel over the
Yeah,
past the MCU, and I think to me, uh, it's all about good stories, right? It's about good story, and I
mhm,
think that's what marketing is too. It's kind of identifying that good story of the business in order to share that. I think we're in a world today where a good marketer, like I said before, there are some bad marketers out there. But
yeah,
I think we're in a world right now where a good marketer is honestly, I think we're in a transition where right now it's more valuable than companies even think yet.
yeah,
But I think we're in that transition where it's more and more big companies. There's a reason Disney has a street team of marketing people because
yeah,
they can afford it, so they pay for it. A
mhm.
lot of times you see young companies not realize the value. You look at, and that's the thing. You look at the big companies that do it. Why are they doing it?
That's another misconception too, just going back to
Yeah,
the misconception of the industry, but talking more about
sure.
the marketing side, is people don't realize how marketing go hands in hand to getting people in the door. So,
Right,
like, when I would do my own freelancing or contracting, people are just like, "Well, do we really need you?" Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "Well, if you don't have me, you don't have a business. Like,
right,
no one's gonna just magically show up on your door anymore. They don't do that
right,
anymore. Like, if you're not people are on their phones. If you're not posting ads or anything on your phone, no one is gonna come and seek you out."
right. The days that listen, I have a full respect for the brick and mortar and mom and pop shops. I have a little strange hobby where every now and then I'll just go somewhere and find a little downtown area, get out of
Mhm.
my car, and just walk around, just
Yeah.
go into these little shops. But the days of those kinds of companies not needing to be somewhere online, and it's almost like just pick one to start.
Yeah.
I think those days are past because a lot of these smaller towns are the foot traffic isn't there because a lot of people are shopping online, and we can get into that for hours, I'm sure.
But it's
But
it's that simple, like, the whole thing of, like, you have to spend money to make money, but not necessarily, though. There's an asterisk to that. There's a lot like, here in the Apopka area, and then I'm close to the Winter Garden area, I do see
right,
oftentimes these great restaurants that have been here for years, they go out of business, but I'm just like, "Well, when was the last time you posted a coupon? When was the last time you
right,
posted in the billions of neighborhood Facebook groups?" Like, no, like,
yeah.
you could do a lot more to keep yourself going
I
and
don't,
to
I
keep
don't care. I don't care if a 10% coupon will only get me like 43 cents off. I'll still take it in there and
right.
go buy something to get that discount. So,
Exactly.
yeah, that's the thing. You and I were speaking the same language here. I think as a writer, um, I make it a point to make sure that my clients or potential clients understand you're not just telling a story. You're trying to draw people in. You're
Yeah,
trying to bring people in with that story. Just saying that you are a business that serves food. You know what? They serve food down the road. Tell me
exactly.
tell me
Yeah.
tell me something about your company that makes me want to support you, and that's kind of where I try to go with when it comes to
Yeah.
storytelling for businesses. Yeah.
Mhm.
So we have one thing I want to talk about before we go because
Yeah.
we're two things. But number one is Beyonce.
Yeah.
One thing I like to have fun in these conversations, and the one thing I ask about is your favorite performer, music, musicals, books, or whatever. Um, tell me about you mentioned Beyonce, and it's funny because I can't even ask the question. Why do you like her? I mean, she's phenomenal. She's perfect. What is it about her that kind of is there a because she's a ridiculous businesswoman
Yes.
beyond being a great performer. I mean, can you talk about her and what? Just I'm going to give you your Beyonce minute.
My Beyonce minute. So, yeah, so she is my all-time favorite performer, artist. I think she is a really great business or professional influence as well. Like, all funs and fangirling aside, like,
Yeah,
I truly like to just dive into people's brandings and business branding and just
yeah,
really trying to understand her thinking. But I think for her as an individual, granted, she has a lot more money than I do, so she has a team of
right,
people to help her.
right,
But I enjoy like her interviews and when she does let the audience in to learn more about her personally. And just growing up, me growing up with Destiny Child up until the Beyonce by herself now, like just seeing that growth and just how much she has gone through and perspires, like it's very
right.
inspiring.
She's
But
growing up in front of us.
yeah, yeah, she
Yeah,
truly did. But now seeing her married with 3 kids and just like how she is taking back her time in a way or reclaiming her time of like, "Hey, I gave you guys so many years of
right,
myself and business, dancing and singing," and like now seeing her in this her error and being able to step back and just know like, "Hey," it goes back to like a great example of like if you work so hard and you do so great and people get to know you, etcetera, like when you get older and you get to a stage, like you're able to like step back and just allow things to just move in a way that they need to move. But I truly just like enjoy going back to her interviews to just see her talking and how she discussed like how hard she works. And, she's not the celebrity who's just sitting around feet up and is like showing up the next day. Like she spends months of planning with her team on business ventures. And when her concerts come around, she is doing months of rehearsals and she has admit she's a perfectionist, but she's also not perfect either. Like stuff happens.
right.
I
I,
think
I
that's
think
what I really enjoy about her the most is like the transparency and her just being human, showcasing how she
I, I I think the entertainment industry offers a lot of cautionary tales, right?
yeah.
Where there are people behaving badly, etc. But if you look close enough, you also find these kind of stories that these people do it the right way, and they because I don't know if I would be that smart if I were famous. I have no idea, but there are some people who just do it the right way and they don't take it for granted. And I think that's important. I love that you mentioned Beyonce because I think that is it's a good illustration for business people out there.
Yeah, because I think she shows a way, as best as she can, how to separate me as a person, a human being, versus the entertainment person. And I think
Right.
even in business, people mix those together too much. Like now, just like the learning lesson, like, hey, like this is Sophia working, but then this is Sophia
Mm,
personally at home. Like these don't cross together ever, and there's boundaries to both of those entities.
right.
And I think a lot of people can learn more about that. Because we do put celebrities in general on this high pedestal and
Yeah. Yeah.
so much, and I'm just like, you guys forget like what you see in the music and all that. That's like a product. That's the business, and you're forgetting that they're also a person. It's a two in
Right.
one, and
Right.
it shouldn't be combined. They need to be separated and respected. So.
Wow, 100%. I think it's easy to forget that though. I mean, they are so prominent, right? I mean, I think
Mhm.
but it's smart to remember that. And that has been the entertainment minutes on the Everybody Has a Podcast. uh, no, but last thing I want to talk to you about is, like I said, this is called the Everybody Has a Podcast.
Mhm.
So I do ask everybody, what is your favorite podcast? You indicate you don't listen too much to podcasts, right?
I think
Um,
sadly because I'm so busy, so I just always
right.
default to my music is playing all day, my playlist. But if I had to listen to a podcast, I enjoyed listening to Mel Robbins.
Yeah, tell me about. I looked it up a little bit. Tell me a little bit about the podcast. Just kind of what draws you to it.
So Mel, she is really good at letting you know that yes, life is serious, but you shouldn't take it so seriously.
Mm,
Being able to set up boundaries, being able to advocate for yourself, being able to understand that your life is not supposed to be picture perfect, white picket
hmm
fence. Like one of the misconceptions or myths about myself is people see me just doing all the things with a family and they think it's like it looks to them flawlessly done. I was like, well, I had to
Right.
put in systems, but it's not at all flawless. Like there's days where stuff just doesn't go my way. When you have
Right.
a family, so I feel like with her, like she has really helped in a way, being a mentor of the in a way to me when I listen, and just sharing like it is okay where you're at, and you don't have to be
hmm
like the next person. Like it's not great to see someone and you're fantasizing like, "Oh, I wish my life was like that." You should be
Right.
grateful
Right.
where you're at now. And also, if you are in dark times or in a sticky situation that you're not stuck there forever, you're just it's all about mindset and you can
hmm
change the trajectory of your life at any time. So that's why I enjoy listening to her
I
podcast.
love that.
A few of them
I
and
I love. I,
yeah.
I love that because I think one of the ways that I live my life is basically, and again, I'm not overstating my importance. I'm just saying the way I approach it
Mhm.
is, you know, whatever you're going through, think about what it's going to be like in a week. You'll either be moved on to a different headache or
Yeah.
you'll move on and things will be fine. I think bad times are temporary, but I think
Mhm.
so. I love that message. I love that message for sure. Sophia, I want to thank you so much for joining me on the show. I hope you had some fun. I hope we enjoyed each other's company. And um, yeah, so thanks so much for joining me.
Well, thank you, Margaret. I had a great time with you. I would love to come
That's
again
good.
for round 2.
Well, let me finish round one and let's see if round two is going to be funded.
Oh,
um, but no. So thank you everyone for watching. Everybody has a podcast. This is where we chat and you guys listen. Hopefully, we all have a good laugh too. Sophia, once again, thank you so much.
yes, thank you.